thank you.
Good. Good. Let me get my other camera on.
I like your shirt, very tropical.
Yes, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
I've got no Laurie at the moment, so I'm not sure if she's joining us. She may be.
Yeah, I'm not
Well,
sure.
we'll see. We'll see how we go. She's usually quite good to say if she can't make it, but I've not heard from her.
Uh-huh.
Um, so
She's probably
how's your week been?
pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, it's been a pretty good week.
Okay.
Mhm.
So last week we were doing some brainstorming, weren't we?
I
And
think we're-
yeah. Do. So what have you been up to then? Let's dive in.
so I've just been working on the tea, and I had set a goal that I would have at least 20 registrants by
Yeah.
today.
Hmm.
So I'm four short of that goal.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
still pretty good.
oh yeah, and I will definitely get them by Wednesday, I'm sure, at the absolute latest. Because
Right.
I'm now starting to make just some personal nudges,
Hmm.
and and so I should, so I should definitely pick up more. And then
Hmm.
that way, when I get 50% to 50% capacity, then I can post it and say, we're 50% at 50% capacity.
Okay. Okay.
Create
How are you reaching out to people?
um basically through Facebook. And I will send an email. No, I did send an email to previous registrants,
Hmm.
and I picked up a few.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna send out an email to my entire list.
Okay.
And I'm sure I'll pick up more. And so I'll keep doing it and encouraging them to bring a guest. I've created a sponsorship table, and so I'll continue to um, work until I get my goal, which is 40.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
and I ideally would love to have that. Like last year, I went into the T. I think I had reached it by like a week before.
Hmm. And people do tend to leave things till the last moment, as you're probably aware.
I
Um,
do.
so So kind of doing a bit of a blitz just before that last week is okay. And what I'm thinking there is your social media, your email. Do you have any WhatsApp groups that you are a member of that you could okay, we use WhatsApp quite a lot here. We have a community group in our local community that we're able to, you know, put various activities that are happening in the community out there. But what I would say there is don't worry about sending more than one item in a week or doing it in one method. Go for it, as it were, and don't necessarily wait until you've got exactly 20 to say you're 50% full. You can still say you're 50% full, or spaces are limited. So
Yeah,
I
and that's
think,
what I have now, that the space is limited, and to say 50% for is really more of a just creating this sense of urgency.
urgency, absolutely, yeah.
Because last year that's what
Yeah, don't
happened.
miss out. Yeah, you want to
Yeah.
have like the don't miss out. You know, fear of missing out is something that can happen. And sometimes people just need that nudge, and
Mhm,
making sure that you're having your links in there so that they can go, oh yes, I'll click and
mhm,
buy the ticket, which is
mhm.
all good. So
And
did you come up with because you were looking at different I don't know, stories, articles, angles that you wanted to kind of break down what you were doing and why you were doing it. I think we were talking about that. Did you manage to come up with
um,
some topics rather than it just being a sales piece?
yeah, so that we were talking about the social media aspect of it. So yeah, I'm good there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Cool.
really good. Like today, I'll post a picture of of women gathered together and and enjoying conversations.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll post a picture and create a post about, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. It's like a little teaser, isn't it, as you kind of take them through a journey.
yeah,
Okay, sounds good. What are you needing help with this week?
good question. Because I don't really think there's anything specific that I need help with.
Okay.
Um,
If there was one thing, what would it be?
um, I feel like we talked about this last week. I mentioned how the the hesitation for me comes from all of the work that it takes to do
Mm,
pop-ups
mm,
and looking at other ways to get around that.
mhm.
So we talked about Lori had mentioned about a T cot. I mean, I think she called it, I forgot what she called it, but it was a trailer that was
Mhm.
converted into like a
Yeah,
mobile.
it's like a horse trailer that's converted into like a tea kiosk, for want of a better word.
Yes, that's a great word too.
Hmm.
And while and that was intriguing. And but that also takes, you know, some significant startup money and time.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
And I think the closest thing um, is inviting vetted vetted women to my home and
Hmm.
and 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 using that as a tea time.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
I've kind of tossed that idea around with some of the women in my community. I have a
Mhm.
membership community, and that's a great way to invite women over,
Mm.
you know, for this guided conversation around a cup
Yeah.
of tea.
Yeah.
And and so just kind of thinking about that, looking for ways that will fit my lifestyle as well
Mm.
as just my personality.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're talking about sort of vetted women doing it at home. After I closed my tea room in 2020, I still wanted to provide the afternoon tea experience, if you like. But again, like you, I didn't want to be, I wanted to do it on my own terms. And I think that's pretty much where you are. And because I'd already got a list of people that had been to the tea room, they were, if you like, vetted in the fact that they knew me.
Mhm,
And some were what I would call super fans.
mhm,
In fact, that's what they call themselves. It's not what I would call them because that sounds really weird. But I sent out information about doing I think it was actually a Mother's Day tea because Mother's Day is like the day for afternoon tea. Everywhere fills up. You can always sell tickets.
mhm,
You can double
mhm.
your price. You know, it is like the day to do something. And I the house that we had in the States is so much bigger than the house we have here, but we had a basement, we had a dining room, we had a dining area in the kitchen, we had an office that I even converted. And because COVID was still kind of around at that time, even the office that I kind of converted, it was, you know, I was kind of like putting a tablecloth over the computer and the printer just so it didn't look too officey in there. But I set up a little folding table with a tablecloth and chairs and everything and dressed it in the way that I would a normal dinner table. But I found that there was one particular family of four that always wanted the office because it was just their family and they weren't having to mix with the other people. So I basically opened up like all the levels and had like different sittings and different timings so I wasn't overstretched. Um, but there is a lot you can do if you have the space in your home to do something, and you have known people that you've worked with before. They find it really special that you're inviting them to your home and you're having this one-on-one time with them. It's like they're VIPs of your community. So there's a lot you can do with that if you're prepared to do that. And like I say, you can make it as, I wouldn't make it too long, but you have an opportunity there to, do some education with them, and also do all the finery that you like to do with the tea table and the etiquette and the rest of it like that. So that for me would be like a really fun thing to do. And because you've got your food, you've got your all your crockery, you've got all your china, everything's there, you're not having to move it around. I mean, it's still work, don't get me wrong, because you've still got to do the prep, and there's still a lot of clear up to do. So if you can get someone to help you with that, that's, and when I say someone, I'm meaning, a family member that you're not having to pay, then it can obviously help your budget as well. I don't
Mhm.
know if that makes any sense, or if that sounds interesting.
Oh, no, that makes a lot of sense, and it definitely sounds interesting and doable. Uh,
Mm,
and so, um, and then I also tossed around the idea of, I thought it would be nice if I found a space. Like I love Lori's concept in the sense that she's really just going to be open on the weekends.
mhm,
So, so I thought it would be nice to find a place where, just as you have shops we have a lot of shops like this here in the States where they're they're styling salons,
mhm,
and each each stylist has like their own place, their
mhm.
own cubicle, and
Yeah.
our own unit. And you might have 20 stylists in that one building.
Mhm,
Now, so even if I found a place where, again, I could just leave my stuff right there and,
mhm,
and open, say, like Friday and Saturdays. I wouldn't do it on a Sunday,
mhm,
because of the way my life looks on Sunday. But so just kind of tossing some things around, and
mhm,
um, because I feel like I have such a collection
mhm.
that I keep adding to.
So this idea of your own unit, is that like a lockable space so that no one else can go in there? So I'm just trying to think. I know over in Brownsburg, where I used to live, there was, I suppose it's like almost like a what do we call it? An incubator hub where different shops, like you say, are inside a bigger building, and they're individual, I say units, individual rooms, if you like, and each shop does something different. Um, I suppose the question there is, what would you do with food? Because you're still going to have to bring that in, aren't you? If
Yeah,
you're
I
going
would
to do food. So,
just bring the food in.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
bring the food in. But again, that's just, just dreaming and thinking, what are some ways I could do it in
Mm.
like an ideal world.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing that I did do before I went open the tea room is I partnered with well, it's actually a restaurant, and I don't know if you'd find the same. Well, in fact, I partnered with two, well, three. I did a lot of stuff before I found my wings, if you like. Um, but there was one particular restaurant that basically had two, let's call them units, because it was in a shopping mall. The restaurant was on one side, and on the other side it was their event space, and um they had a little kitchen at the back of the event space, which was purely for catering events. But the events that they would do would have been Saturday evenings, wedding receptions, birthday part, big, I don't know, big parties, big groups of people. But on a Sunday, and again, this might not work for you exactly, but on a Sunday, they didn't use it. And afternoon tea on a Sunday is kind of a thing in the UK. So it was like, well, can I come in and use your kitchen and you know, do my prep, you know, my plating up and everything, and then use the front of house part and get that all set up with, you know, nice tablecloths, three tier cake stands and all that sort of thing. And I did that for a while, and we would do, I think we used to do a monthly tea there. But again, I was trying to build up my clientele at that time. And I suppose that was quite specific, that kind of setup. And it was literally just around the corner from where I lived. So
Mhm.
that was one way we did that. And then the other one, the main one that I had was a coffee shop that was open early morning, but closed at 2 o'clock. And again, doing a sort of a late afternoon tea there once a month was, so that's just a few other ideas that you might want to kind of look into to see if there are places that would look to basically rent out their space and allow you to do those sorts of things. I was going to just say another thing there that just popped into my head. Yeah, but again, it's like a pop-up again because you're bringing things in and taking things back, which is what you're trying to avoid doing.
Mhm.
So
So
thinking of,
as you were talking, I was just thinking how I used to have an office space.
mhm,
Um, 2 years before COVID, I decided to just come back to my home because
mhm.
I had more than enough space to be able to do what I needed to do. So I was just thinking that that would be great if a space like that,
Mhm.
where and it was my own space, so
Mm.
and I rented it, and so um, but that something like that could be a possibility. I don't know.
Mhm.
I just have just been thinking, what are
Yeah.
some ways that I can still do it and have the best of both worlds, you
Yeah.
know? And so even though it wouldn't be a full-fledged tea house, tea room, um, I still could have that a stationary place that feels like a pop-up.
Yeah, yeah. And it would be for specific events. So it's like ticketed events. So you'd sell the tickets ahead of time. You know how many people are coming, you know what you're catering. They turn up, they know where they're coming to. You're not taking walk-ins or any of that stuff that you have in a restaurant scenario where it's difficult to kind of manage. Um, but you know, you could do all sorts with that, couldn't you? You could do the afternoon tea experience. Oh, I love the word experience. The afternoon tea experience. You could do the etiquette experience. You could do the tea 101 experience with tea sampling and opportunity to buy your teas at the back end. You know, so there's all sorts. You could come up with a whole program. In fact, I'm going to set you a little task, and I find this really, really helpful. Uh, it's called the 50 Ways. I don't know if you've come across it before. No.
If
So
you
it's called 50 Ways, and the challenge is to get in a really quiet space, do your meditation, you know, do really sort of like inner work and really get into that zone, pray, whatever it takes you to get to that place,
Mhm.
and challenge yourself to come up with 50 ways. Now, I'm actually thinking this could work out in two categories, if you like. You could do the 50 ways of, you know, how could I do this, which is obviously what you've been thinking about, but putting it onto paper helps. And by the time you get to like the 25th, and you really have to push yourself, you'll start coming up with kind of wacky ideas, but you'll also be coming up with lots of download stuff as well. And you're not to edit it before you get as far as you can. But the idea is to get to 50. Now, the other category I was actually thinking of is you could actually come up with 50 topics, 50 event topics that you want to, and I'm not suggesting you do all 50, don't want you to feel overwhelmed by the number. But again, it's just that idea of getting in the right mental space and just coming up with ideas. I mean, I came up with 3 just off the top, this idea of doing an afternoon tea experience, doing the tea tasting experience and a 101 and an etiquette experience. I'm sure there are other things that you could do, pulling in lots of your experiences, lots of your stories. I mean, I did this for I would do something called Tina's Tales. It helps my name being starting with a T, Tina's Tea Time Tales.
Mhm.
And because one of the things we learn in coaching is this idea of selling a package. So I wanted to come up with a package of talk topics. So that's where I was going. But you could change talk topic into experience topic. And I wanted to come up with 12, one a month. Again, I'm not suggesting you want to do that many. But say you come up with 12 different experience topics or 50 or however many you can get to. And then go through the list again and then edit and go, I really like that. That would be really easy to do. Well, if I did that one, all I'm having to do is make the tea. I'm not even having to, provide any food, then start editing it. But I say it needs a quiet space when you're really in tune with God, the universe, and your passion. And I know you want to have, like you say, you want your cake and eat it, you want the best of both worlds. So go in with, with that as an idea, and then just do the exercise. I first did this, goodness knows, blooming years ago. I got to 104 things on the list. I think it was how to make money, actually. It was just very wide and broad. But over the next 3 years, I probably hit 10 of those things that were serious money makers that I encapsulated into my business. And without doing that process, I wouldn't have had half of the ideas. So I say it's called 50 Ways, but you can tailor that concept down. And I'm just thinking that might be a good way of, again, going down that road of, okay, so if I have this office space and I can have this beautiful dining table set up all the time, and then I invite people in for these experiences, what would they look like? Based on all your experience and passion. And, rather than the masterclass that you did, where you probably fire hosed everybody, break that down into those little chunks. And then you can set it up as a program and maybe do a discount if you sign up to the full program. Or you could have it as a monthly membership. Or you could have it as one-off events. Or a mixture of all of those. How does that sound?
That sounds really good. But I think I would prefer to look at 50 ways to create a pop-up like tea experience.
Yeah.
And then from there move to the topics.
Yeah.
The types of experiences, because if I do those things first.
Yeah, that's more logical, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna be frustrated because I've come up with this great idea. But I still need a place to host it.
Yeah.
So I think for me to look at ways to host it would be more practical.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and then use this for, the experiences or the topics or
Yeah.
ways to make money, selling tea. And again, for me, Tina, it also has to be part-time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was saying, I'm coming up with like this idea of doing something once a month. For you, it might be once a quarter, or the main thing that you're going to do once a year, or whatever that looks like for you. But if you've got the breadth, and I'm sorry, I've kind of thrown two like categories or 2 levels at you, but it was just how it kind of popped into my head that it's a really good way of doing that. But not just coming up with the idea of where to host it, looking at knocking on a few doors, making a few calls and finding out if there is somewhere. And I know you're very involved with the church. A lot of churches have a really good space as well. often they'll have a catering kitchen that you can use, so you can do your plating and such like. It's not quite the same as having your own space. I just hooked onto this idea of if you had your office space, I could just see that. I was perhaps jumping ahead a bit.
Yeah,
Um,
no, as a matter of fact, as we were talking, I started creating a list. And so
yeah,
a church, space was, I added that to my list.
yeah,
The other thing I've thought about too is even like with hotels,
mm,
even, talking with the events caterer or
yeah,
event planner to see if that's something that they'd like to have,
mm,
someone who comes in for their
mm,
activities
yeah,
and helping to promote. But the only problem with that is then I'd have to think about compensation. Then I'd have to think about, you know, um, I would have to propose either getting a percentage um, or or giving them a proposal, and that's a lot harder because
mm,
they work with corporate offices
mm,
that they would have to get everything cleared through. So definitely I've just kind of been thinking it through and realizing um, that I don't want this passion to die. Or
absolutely.
I don't want to limit it, and I want to give myself permission to really dream.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, in the meantime, I could always just have women come here to my
Mm,
home, and like I said, it would be very targeted, very, vetted
yeah.
women who would come.
Well, I'm just going back to that idea of these experiences. You could do something similar in your home and have a program rather than it being a one-off, have it as a program. And I know
Mhm,
you're wanting to do it on a part-time basis and you need to decide what that looks like for you. But, if you had like I don't know, a four event program of experiences that you held at your home and then you covered off these topics, then there's a reason for people to keep coming back. And it's the same people and you're building those relationships.
mhm,
Um, and then they'll become your super fans. So that, once I went back to inviting people into my home and doing this, having had the tea room, it was like, why did I ever have the tea room? This is so much better. No rent, no employees. It's like, but I think without having the tea room, I wouldn't have had the fan base that would go, oh my God, Tina's inviting me to her house. Oh, can't wait to go. I'm going to invite my mum and my sister, and we're going to make this big event out of it. So that's one thing there. Um, so that is good. I think with the hotel concept is they're trying to sell you the room and the catering, and that's their focus. So it's almost like putting yourself in their shoes. Um, but I mean, there's historical properties. They might want to run a program over a period of time. But again, you're still having to move your stuff into their space and cart all your
yeah,
lovely china around. So that's why I like the idea of the office, because you rent that. I mean, it would be like a monthly rent and you might only use it 3 times a year. So you got to think about that part. But at least you can, and would you leave all your stuff there?
mhm,
Because there's something attractive about that. But that's why the idea of the 50 ways is just to get like lots and lots and lots of thoughts down and then go back and kind of analyze it and think it through.
mhm,
So so yeah, that could. There was one event space actually that I did look at, and this was after COVID, just after COVID, and they had a room that they didn't use very often. And again, they wanted me to rent it out on a monthly basis. But because they weren't really using it, they got storage where I could keep my china.
mhm,
Um, and so there might be places out there that do that. Wedding barns, that's another place that you might be able to go into partnership with them and be there. And it might not be that you want to actually do the full afternoon tea, maybe work with the caterer. So they're doing all the setup and you come in to do it. I mean, it depends what you want to do, I think, but you could go in with, I'm going to come and do etiquette with you, and turn an event into an experience. If that's quite a good line, actually, it's quite a good line. Turning your event into an experience, but being that, because I know we talked about being like the facilitator of an experience.
Mhm.
So there's that side of things, and also, I mean, we've talked about this before, like retirement communities. They're always looking for programs, and I know we talked about libraries, and the money wasn't really in it for you, but um, again, that might be a way of keeping the passion alive, and testing out some of your material. Um, I don't know.
Mhm.
So just off the top, sorry, I do bounce around with ideas, but then
I
that's maybe why you're here.
I appreciate it. That's helpful. Like I said, you've helped me certainly get started.
Yeah, but I think doing things from your home with people that you know, and that know you is probably the easiest, less humping stuff around. I mean, it can be a bit stressful because obviously if you're on your own doing it and you've got several people and you've got lots of things, you've got the food, you've got the tea, you've got the information, there's lots of moving parts to it still.
Mhm.
But it's certainly low risk. It's certainly more profitable, and it's certainly less moving stuff around.
Mhm.
Have you thought of doing virtual things?
Um, I have. I've done some virtual things. Um,
Mhm.
and and certainly I can do a virtual tea, um, but it's not the same.
No, it's not the same. You're right, and you can't really charge for it like you can personal experience, because that's part of what you're doing there.
Mhm.
Mhm. Mm. And again, I've done stuff with Girl Guides and etiquette and such like, but again, yeah, the pay's not really there, because I know having good return on your time is a criteria you're looking for as well.
It is because my time is so limited,
Yeah.
and and because of the wear and tear, it's amazing when
Mhm.
uh, several events that recently that I've gone to, and I've had conversations with caterers.
Mhm.
Most of them are past 60,
Mhm.
and they're either out of the business or transitioning
Mhm.
and moving out of the business. Because once you get to a certain place in life and certain season in life, it's more physically taxing. And even though you
Mhm.
love it, it's
Yeah.
very taxing. And
Yeah.
this one woman was talking about, how even her kids now, they grew up with her having her own event planning business.
Mm.
Now they moved on and they have their own lives. And
Mm.
so she now only does it for family and very close friends
Mm.
because it's very taxing. So
Yeah.
so that's why for me, this has to be something that I can do, and it's not taxing.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you thought about trying to get onto the speakers circuit?
How to get on to the speaker circuit?
Yeah.
Um, yes. And so I used to speak a lot, and probably about 7 years ago, I made a decision that I don't want to speak a whole lot anymore.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so I'm fine with speaking once a quarter is good enough for me.
Okay.
And so like I have a conference, I'm a keynote for it's like they're calling it a day retreat.
Mhm.
And so I'm coming in and talking about tea, and they know that I also have my own. I'm talking about rest, but they also know I have my own line of teas, and and that I also am a tea etiquette ed- and educator. And so I will have a little setup where
Mhm.
I will have a space where I'll get a chance to have like a tea room on the spot,
Mhm.
on location. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And that's really great because I get a chance to blend all of my worlds together.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, And so that's the kind of speaking I enjoy now, is where I can really um, bring all of my worlds to
Mm.
the table, and 4 times a year is enough for me
Yeah. Yeah.
because I do so many other things, and
Yeah.
so I'm fine. But like I said, I used to speak a lot, and I also had a course at our community college as well as my own clients. So,
Wow. Yeah.
well,
Okay, that's good. But
Mhm.
you have you thought about making that happen so you are doing it 4 times a year? And would that what's the word? Scratch your itch,
Yeah,
as it were.
and I'm pretty much doing that. So like what I'm working on now is I'm working on my um, bio page for just for the T side for each area that I specialize. So the T, I've worked on my lead magnet, if you would, and
Yeah, yeah.
talk about the benefits of different teas. And I am, and then I also have um, a landing page, if you would, where
Hmm.
you now go and you get information, but then
Yeah.
you so select the different ways that you would like to um, experience the value that I deliver. And so, and with that, does that one have a speaker sheet? No, but I also have another page that will have a speaker sheet, a speaker's kit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I have that. I'm also in a speakers bureau, and
Right.
so
Yeah.
you know that way I can, my bio is there and people want to reach out to me, so and typically for me, Tina, a lot of my speaking opportunities are word of mouth as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
which is great because because I'm not trying to speak all the time. I mean, there are so many different ways. I mean,
Mm.
um, where you reach out to conference event planners and let them know what your topics are if they ever have need for you. So certainly there's so many different ways that you can go about it. But
Yeah. Sure.
because I'm not trying to do this all the time now, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't need a lot of them, I don't think, if that's if that's the way you want to go. And yeah. Okay. Um, I was just wondering if that would be enough, or are you wanting to do the setting the table and doing that whole coming together rather than talking at people, which is obviously what happens more when you're a speaker.
Yeah,
I
I,
suppose I'm just
I,
trying to work out what you're looking for.
no, I'm really looking for a way that I can bring women
Mm,
together
mm,
around the cup. That's
mm,
it.
mm.
And
Have you done anything with wellness events?
mm, I'm trying to think.
So let me tell you
I've
my
done,
thought.
go ahead.
I was going to say, let me tell you my thought there. Um, I'm thinking a wellness event where you are providing an experience. So obviously teas involved with that and some education. And then obviously you're selling your teas off the back end of that. Would that work? I'm thinking like a VIP area and I'm thinking here, if you went to the people organizing a wellness event, rather than you going in as a vendor, you would be going in as, somebody that was actually creating an experience which would add value to the event. I've done this several times with different businesses over the years. And it's basically got me in without having to pay for a vendor table, but I'm still able to sell stuff at the back end of it and start building community and, getting your mailing list together and such like.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's your bag. I mean, I love events because I just like meeting people.
Mhm.
But I don't know, just a
Yeah.
thought.
Yep. So the wellness piece is definitely attractive, and it certainly is in alignment with the educational part of
Yeah.
tea and looking at the benefits of tea. And so so definitely I'm open to those as
Mhm.
well.
Okay.
Um, but again, and those won't take a lot out of me in the sense of having to bring teapots and teacups,
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Unless, of course, you want it to.
I would.
No, no. I did a children's tea experience at one wellness event, and I went as Mary Poppins, and we had all the little girls about 5, 6, 7 years old, dressed up in princess outfits, and we sold tickets for that, but then we had like I don't know, 5 tickets that were part of a draw or something. It was part of the promotion of the actual event itself. And we had a 10 by 20 space, which we had tables and we set it all up and it looked very pretty. And then we had tea that was being sold at the back end. But I think the point I'm making there is it's not just about the tea and the health benefits of the tea, it's the whole ceremony of tea time, and the pause that that creates from a well-being point of view, not just the um, functional benefits of the tea. It
Mhm.
kind of all comes together in that sort of scenario. So yeah, but I think once you start thinking about these things and outlining in your mind what it's like, oh yeah, I could see me doing that, and that would tick those boxes, and start once you start getting to that analytical stage of it, it just puts you into that vibration, and then you start looking for those things, and you start seeing things, don't you? Once you know what you're looking for. If you don't know what you're looking for, it's just a blur. So, is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's very fair to say. Absolutely. Mhm. So,
Anyways, so next week, have a list. I don't care what it's a list of, but just these ideas that you get down. But if you go through the exercise, I found it really, really powerful. And it kind of helps once you get past the first 10 or so, then you start getting really, well, I think you're just downloading actually.
mhm.
It just kind of comes. And because you're in the right space, yeah, I'll be interested to see what you come up with, I must admit.
I look forward to sharing with you.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And good luck by getting your target set up for your tea event that's coming up. Is that next month, August? End of
Yes,
July. Yeah,
next month.
early August. Yeah, yeah. I don't know where the year is going. I can't believe we're nearly.
Really bad.
So, just a little bit of news from my side, if I may.
Mhm.
Yesterday, I did a fundraiser at the Tea Hut,
Mhm.
where I did a plated afternoon tea, which was a cut down high tea because I didn't have all the tea stands or tables even to put them on. But I did these little platters with sandwiches, a sausage roll, scone, cake, and tea or coffee. And again, this is very informal and it's outdoorsy, and picnic tables and such like. We had 30 people through. I know, I was so exhausted. But I remembered everybody's order. I didn't write anything down. I was just like, okay, so the cake, I don't know, and just yeah, it was amazing. We got the whole village involved, um,
Nice.
and we raised £350, which
That,
for a
that,
small village is quite a lot.
wow. So what does that equate to? You probably don't know because you don't have to,
In dollars,
uh, you,
um,
you don't have to think about it. So you probably,
about 420, four
okay,
thirty, something like that. Yeah. So
nice.
it was sizable. I was aiming at 200.
Okay.
So the fact that we did 3 and
So
350, it was like, that was pretty good.
yes.
And we had like a raffle, and we had a book stall, we had a plant stall as well. So there's other bits going on. But it made it like a summer fair fete type thing. And yeah, so it was a very hard work, but very, very enjoyable.
Better pay
And I
off.
wouldn't like to do that every day, but I used to when I had the tea room, and it's like no more. Um, but
Uh,
I had a few family members come to help out,
oh,
especially
good.
changing tables and washing up. But
Okay.
yeah, it was good fun.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. So I'm still walking the talk. I'm not just talking it.
Well, you're such an encouragement to us all and a great example. So thank you.
Oh, you are a sweetheart. Okie dokie. Anything else I can help you with today?
I think I'm good. I think I'm
Okie
good.
dokie,
I'm
my
gonna go work on this exercise, finish up my email, and then because today is my tea day, to just
okay.
and then send out some more personal invites and
Yeah.
to women who've expressed an interest to say, hey, go ahead and get
Yeah.
your application in. So
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. Limited spaces. We have got,
yes, yes,
we
absolutely.
have 19,
Yeah,
18, 17.
I'm gonna get there.
You
I'll get,
will. You
like I
will.
said, out by Wednesday, and
Yeah.
hopefully next week I will have at least 30
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
And
Sounds good, my darling.
yeah,
You take care. Have a lovely week, and
thanks
good
you
luck
too.
with everything.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Take
Okay,
care.
bye
Bye
now.
now.